The moon hung low over the Moonfang forest, its pale light spilling across the twisted roots and frozen streams. In its silver glow, Ilara moved silently, her bare feet brushing against damp moss, careful not to make a sound. She had always preferred the night. The pack had rejected her, called her weak, called her a shadow of the Luna she was meant to be. Tonight, though, she felt a strange pull, a whisper of power that tickled her skin like the gentle touch of a ghost. Ilara had been born with a mark of the moon on her wrist, barely visible, almost like a faded scar. As a child, her mother had held her hand and whispered that it was special, that it meant she carried the blood of the Luna in her veins. But the pack elders had laughed, called her mark an accident, a shadow with no strength. The rejection had cut her deeper than any fang, deeper than any claw. And for years she had carried the pain silently, walking alone through the forests, training herself to survive where others failed. Tonight, something had changed. The wind carried a scent she could not name, both bitter and sweet, ancient and alive. It led her to the edge of the mountains, to the ruins of the old Moonfang shrine. She had seen the shrine once as a child, a place whispered about in stories. It was said that the shrine held the old magic of the pack, the power of the Luna herself, but none dared enter it. Ilara, always the outsider, now felt it calling her. Her heart beat faster as she stepped into the circular ruins. Moonlight poured through the shattered roof, illuminating the altar at its center. The stone was cold beneath her fingers, carved with runes that shimmered faintly under her touch. She knelt before it, feeling the air thicken as if the night itself was holding its breath. Ilara, a voice whispered, soft but commanding, threading through the wind. She looked around. The forest was empty, yet she felt it, a presence, strong and patient, waiting. Her pulse thrummed in her ears as she placed both hands on the altar. A sudden warmth spread through her, starting at her chest and flowing outward. She gasped as a light, faint at first, then bright and blinding, erupted from the altar and wrapped around her body. Her mark glowed fiercely, and she could feel the power building inside her. Her muscles tingled. Her senses sharpened. She could hear the whispers of the forest, the distant calls of the wolves, even the soft murmur of the river a mile away. She could feel the heartbeat of the mountain beneath her. Fear and wonder tangled in her chest. She was no longer weak. She was no longer invisible. She could feel the blood of the Luna in her veins, alive and pulsing, awakening after years of silence. And then she heard them. Growls, sharp and low, coming from the shadows beyond the shrine. Her eyes narrowed as figures emerged from the darkness. Wolves, but larger, more muscular than any she had seen, their fur bristling, their eyes glowing in the moonlight. They circled her, each step measured, testing her. Sensing the change, the leader stepped forward. A massive wolf with fur darker than midnight and eyes like molten gold. Kalen. She recognized him instantly. The alpha who had scorned her. The one who had mocked her at every ceremony. The one who had made her feel small for all those years. He stopped a few feet away, tilting his head, studying her as if he could see every secret she had buried in her heart. You are nothing. Kalen's growl rumbled through the night. His voice was not unkind, but heavy with disbelief. What are you now? Ilara stood taller, though her body trembled slightly from the rush of power. I am what I was always meant to be, she said, her voice steady, stronger than she felt. And I am not yours to judge. Kalen circled her, a predator testing prey. But she was no longer prey. Her claws elongated, subtle but sharp enough to slice stone. Her eyes glimmered silver, reflecting the moonlight like twin mirrors. Power hummed in her bones, and with it a strange calm, a certainty she had never known. You think you can claim what is mine? Kalen asked, his voice low, almost a whisper. The other wolves shifted nervously around him. Ilara shook her head. No, she replied. It is not yours to keep. It is mine to protect, mine to lead. The wind howled through the broken roof of the shrine, lifting strands of her hair into the air. The wolves growled, but none dared move closer. Kalen's eyes narrowed. His lips twisted into something like a smirk. We shall see, he said. Ilara could feel the tension in the air like a thread stretched tight. She had not come to fight tonight, not yet. She had come to awaken, to claim the power that had always been hers. But the challenge was clear. Kalen would not let her rise without testing her, without proving herself worthy. Her mind raced as she tried to understand the change in herself. She could feel the pull of the moon stronger than ever, guiding her instincts, sharpening her thoughts. She could hear the whispers of the spirits in the forest offering advice, warning her of dangers she had yet to see. She realized that this night was not just about power, it was about destiny. A sudden movement in the shadows caught her attention. One of Kalen's followers, a wolf with fur as white as snow and eyes sharp as daggers, lunged at her. Reflexively, Elara extended her hand and a wave of light shot forth, stopping the attacker in mid-step. The wolf froze, then slowly sank to the ground, unharmed but trembling. The pack watched in silence. Kalen's golden eyes widened slightly, a flicker of recognition passing over his face. He took a step closer, and for the first time Elara saw a trace of respect there, hidden beneath the arrogance and scorn. You have power I did not know existed," he admitted, his voice low. "The shrine has awakened you." Elara's chest swelled with a mixture of triumph and fear. She had felt the surge of power, yes, but she had not known its full extent. She realized then that the mark on her wrist, the one they had mocked, was the key. It was not a curse, it was a promise. A promise that she would rise not as the rejected Luna, but as the Alpha reborn. Kalen tilted his head again, studying her. "If you are the Alpha, then why do I feel afraid?" His voice was softer now, tinged with something unspoken, a question he dared not say aloud. Elara stepped forward, her silver eyes locked on his. "Because you know what I am capable of. Because you know the pack's future no longer belongs to fear, but to me. And because you know that I am not the girl you once dismissed." A silence fell over the shrine. The wind stopped for a moment, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. The moon shone brighter, bathing Elara in light that seemed to hum with life. She felt the surge of power again, stronger now, coursing through her veins like liquid silver. Kalen lowered his head slightly, a sign of submission, though his pride still shimmered like fire beneath the surface. He did not speak, but Elara could feel his tension, the battle of will waging within him. Elara turned her gaze to the forest beyond the shrine. The path ahead was uncertain. She knew that her awakening would not go unchallenged. Rival packs would hear of her rise. Old enemies, the ones who had caused pain and betrayal in the past, would see her as a threat. But for the first time in her life, she did not feel fear. She felt purpose. She felt power. She felt the pull of destiny shaping her, guiding her toward something greater than she had ever imagined. The moon reached its peak, casting its silver light over the shrine, over Elara, over Kalen. She lifted her head, inhaling the night air. The forest seemed to whisper her name, the wind carrying it across the mountains and valleys, through the trees and streams. Elara was no longer the rejected Luna. She was awakening, becoming more than she had ever been. And in that moment, as Kalen's golden eyes met hers and the pack watched in silence, she understood something vital. The world would never see her the same way again. Cliffhanger. Just as the first hint of dawn touched the forest, a howl echoed from the mountains, louder, darker, and more sinister than any she had ever heard. Elara's eyes narrowed and her claws tingled with anticipation. She knew this was only the beginning. Something was coming for her. Something older, stronger, and hungrier than the pack had ever faced. And she would be ready. The forest was quiet, but it was not peaceful. Shadows stretched long beneath the silver glow of the rising moon, twisting around the trees like dark fingers. Elara moved with deliberate steps, her senses sharper than ever. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind, every distant heartbeat spoke to her. She was no longer the rejected Luna. She was the Alpha reborn, and yet the weight of her new power pressed heavily upon her. Kalen followed, silent and careful, his golden eyes never leaving her. The wolves of the pack trailed behind him, uncertain, some curious, some wary. They sensed the change in her, the power that radiated like moonlight across the forest floor. Elara could feel their hesitation, their questions hidden behind bows and murmurs. She did not speak immediately. There was no need. Her presence alone was enough to command attention. "You feel it, don't you?" Kalen's voice broke the quiet, low and rough, but tinged with something unfamiliar. Respect, maybe, or fear. The change. The strength. "It's not just yours. It's the forest's, the spirits. They follow you." Elara glanced at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "It's mine because I choose it. I do not need their whispers to tell me who I am. I feel it because I have always carried it, even when you and the others could not see." Kalen's jaw tightened. He had never liked being wrong, and yet he could not deny the truth before him. The girl he had once mocked, the one he had dismissed as weak and small, moved with a confidence that drew the forest closer to her with every step. "You must understand, Elara," Kalen said, slowing his pace so he could walk beside her. "The pack will not accept this easily. Even if the spirits follow you, even if the moon bends to your command, there are those who will resist." "I do not need them to accept me," she replied, her voice calm but firm. "I need them to survive. I need them to follow me because they trust me, not because they fear me, and I will earn that trust, Kalen, whether they like it or not." The wind shifted suddenly, carrying the scent of something strange, something dangerous. Elara stopped and raised a hand. Her claws, delicate and sharp, glimmered faintly under the moonlight. The pack froze, waiting for her command. Kalen's eyes followed hers, narrowing. From the shadows, a figure emerged. A wolf larger than any she had seen, with fur as dark as obsidian and eyes like red embers. It moved with quiet menace, each step deliberate, measuring her strength. Elara's heartbeat quickened. She could feel the pulse of power coming from the stranger, a force she did not yet understand. "This is the first test," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else, "and I will not fail." The wolf stopped a few paces away, its gaze locked on hers. Then with a sudden rush it leapt forward, fangs bared. Elara did not flinch. She raised her hands, feeling the surge of moonlight within her. The energy responded immediately, spilling outward in a wave that met the attack. The wolf's momentum faltered, and it skidded to a stop, circling her with a low growl. Kalen stepped forward, his stance protective, yet his eyes were fixed on her. "Do not hesitate, Elara. Show them what you are." The words ignited something within her. She focused, letting the power flow through her body, through her veins, into her limbs. Silver light shimmered along her skin, rising like mist from the earth. The wolf lunged again, but this time Elara met it head-on. A wave of energy surged from her, pushing the creature back with a force it could not resist. It stumbled, eyes wide in shock, and then, just as suddenly, it bowed its head slightly before retreating into the shadows. The forest exhaled with her. Even the pack seemed to shift, the tension in the air easing. Kalen's gaze softened, though he did not speak. Elara could feel the mixture of pride and surprise radiating from him. "You are stronger than I imagined," Kalen admitted, his voice low, almost a whisper. "Stronger than any Luna in the memory of this forest. But strength alone will not be enough. There are other trials ahead, far darker than this." Elara's silver eyes met his. "Then we face them together," she said, and for the first time she saw a flicker of agreement in Kalen's gaze. The journey back to the heart of the pack was long and tense. The forest seemed alive, watching, listening, waiting. Elara could feel the power flowing within her, a river of light and energy that hummed with the heartbeat of the world. It was intoxicating and frightening all at once. She had never felt so alive, and yet she could not ignore the responsibility that came with such power. When they reached the main clearing, the pack awaited them. Wolves lined the edges, their eyes wary, some filled with fear, others with curiosity. The elders of the pack, ancient and proud, stepped forward. They had heard the tales, the whispers carried on the wind, and now they saw her with their own eyes. Kalen bowed his head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement, then stepped back, letting her move forward. Elara's heart pounded, but she held herself tall, her silver eyes scanning the gathering. "Luna," one of the elder wolves said, voice low and cautious. "What is this power? What has changed in you?" Elara inhaled deeply, letting the calm of the moon fill her chest. "I am what I was always meant to be," she said, her voice carrying across the clearing. "I am no longer rejected. I have been awakened by the spirits, guided by the moon, and I claim my place as the alpha of this pack. I will protect you, guide you, and lead you not with fear but with strength and honor." A murmur ran through the pack. Some eyes softened with hope, others narrowed with skepticism. The elders exchanged glances, weighing her words. Their centuries of wisdom conflicted with the undeniable aura of power surrounding her. Kalen stepped forward then, standing beside her. "The forest and the spirits recognize her," he said, his voice carrying authority. "So should we. She is the alpha now, and we will see her through the trials that await, together." Elara's gaze softened for a moment, meeting Kalen's. The tension between them, the anger, the past wounds, the spark of something unspoken, all lingered, but they did not weaken her. Instead, they strengthened her resolve. The night deepened and the moon climbed higher, casting its silver light over the clearing. Ilara could feel the power thrumming through her veins, connecting her to the forest, to the pack, and to something far older and more mysterious than any of them could imagine. But as the first whispers of dawn touched the horizon, a shadow moved along the edge of the clearing, silent and unseen. Ilara's sharp senses caught it, a presence darker than the night, older than the mountains, and hungrier than any pack she had faced. She stiffened, silver eyes narrowing. Kalen noticed the change in her stance immediately. "What is it?" he asked, moving closer. Ilara did not answer. She could feel it, a force pulling at the threads of her new power, testing her, probing her limits. "Something comes," she whispered, her voice steady but low. "Something that will challenge me. Challenge us. And we must be ready." The pack shifted nervously, sensing the tension. Even Kalen's usual confidence wavered slightly. Ilara raised her head to the moon, drawing in the energy, letting it fill her with light and strength. "We will be ready," she said. "I will not fail. The rejected Luna is gone. The Alpha has awakened, and no shadow, no curse, no enemy will take that from us." As the moonlight bathed her in silver, the shadow at the edge of the clearing moved closer, and a low, guttural growl echoed from the darkness. Ilara's claws flexed, her senses on high alert. She knew that this was only the beginning. The trials had begun, and she would face them all, not as the weak Luna she had been, but as the Alpha reborn. Kalen placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "We face it together," he said. His golden eyes held a mix of challenge and something else, something unspoken, a promise that neither time nor fate could erase. Ilara nodded, feeling the surge of power and the weight of responsibility at once. The forest, the pack, the spirits, the moon itself, they all waited. And so did the darkness. The howl came again, louder this time, echoing from deep within the mountains. It carried a warning, a challenge, and a hint of the trials yet to come. Ilara tightened her fists, silver light shimmering across her body. She was ready. She would rise. She would lead. And she would no longer be the rejected Luna. Cliffhanger. As the moon reached its highest point, the shadow stepped forward fully into the clearing, revealing eyes that burned with ancient hunger and power. Ilara's heart quickened. She realized then that the true test of her alpha powers and the bond with Kalen was about to begin. The forest was alive in ways Ilara had never known. Even the trees seemed to whisper secrets, their leaves rustling in strange patterns as if guiding her steps. She moved through the Moonfang territory with purpose now, her senses attuned to every sound, every movement. The pack followed silently, their trust in her slowly growing, though still fragile. Kalen walked at her side, silent and watchful, his golden eyes scanning the shadows. "Ilara," Kalen said softly, breaking the quiet. "There are things about the pack you do not yet know, secrets buried deeper than even the oldest trees. You need to understand them before you can truly lead." Ilara paused, her silver eyes narrowing. "I want to know," she said. "I need to know. The power I carry, it is not just for strength. It is for guidance, for protection. If I do not understand the past, I cannot shape the future." Kalen's gaze softened, a flicker of emotion crossing his usually stern face. "Then we go to the heart of the mountains. There is an ancient cave older than any living wolf in the pack. Inside, the spirits of our ancestors remain. They will speak to you if you are willing to listen." The journey was difficult. The path wound upward through jagged cliffs and narrow ledges. The wind howled around them, carrying the scent of stone and cold air. Wolves flanked them, their steps careful, their eyes alert. Ilara moved steadily, her body strong, her powers humming beneath her skin. Every step made her feel more connected to the land, more aware of her place in it. When they reached the mouth of the cave, the darkness inside seemed alive. Shadows twisted and turned as though they had their own will. Kalen paused, placing a hand on her shoulder. "This is the place of the ancestors. Respect them, and they may share their wisdom. Disrespect them, and you may awaken forces you cannot control." Ilara nodded, taking a deep breath. She stepped inside, the silver glow of her eyes lighting the rough stone walls. The cave pulsed with energy, ancient and powerful. The air smelled of earth and moonlight, and she felt the spirits of countless Luna before her watching. "Who dares enter the heart of the Moonfang ancestors?" A voice echoed low and resonant, though no one was visible. The sound seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Ilara," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of awe in her chest. I am the Luna reborn. I come to learn, to understand, to lead my pack with strength and wisdom. There was a long silence, broken only by the faint drip of water echoing through the cave. Then slowly figures began to emerge from the shadows. They were ethereal, glowing faintly in the dim light, shaped like wolves, yet taller, more regal. Their eyes were bright with ancient knowledge. Elara bowed her head slightly in respect. "You carry the mark of the moon," one of the spirits said, its voice soft but commanding. "You were born to rise. But the path is not simple. You must understand the blood that flows in you, the curse and the blessing intertwined." Elara's heart quickened. "Tell me," she said. "I am ready." The spirits shifted, weaving through the air like silver ribbons. "Your lineage is old, more ancient than the mountains themselves. You were rejected not because of weakness, but because of fear of the change you would bring. The mark on your wrist. It is the symbol of rebirth, of power tempered with wisdom, but it is also a responsibility. Many will seek to test you, to break you, to claim the power for themselves." Elara clenched her fists. She had known the weight of rejection, the sting of isolation. Now she understood that it had been preparing her for this very moment. "I will not fail," she said. "No one will take this from me. I will protect the pack no matter the cost." A second spirit stepped forward, its fur shimmering with silver light. "There is one you will face soon," it said. "A shadow older than the mountains, tied to the bloodline of your companion, Kaelin. He will test you not with fangs or claws, but with loyalty and trust. Only by embracing both your strength and your heart will you overcome him." Elara looked to Kaelin, who stood just outside the circle of light, his expression unreadable. He caught her gaze and inclined his head slightly, a silent acknowledgement. His presence gave her strength, yet also added tension. He had once doubted her, mocked her, and yet now he stood as both challenger and ally. The spirits faded slowly, leaving a quiet hum in the air. Elara felt the knowledge of her bloodline settle within her, a solid weight of purpose. The curse was real, tied to the legacy of the Moonfang clan, but it was also a guide, a map of what she needed to overcome. Kaelin stepped fully into the circle of light, his golden eyes meeting hers. "You are more than I imagined," he said quietly. "Stronger, wiser, and yet, there is something in you that even I cannot fully understand. The bond between us, it will be tested, and we may not survive it unscathed." Elara's heart quickened. "Then we face it together," she said. The words were true, not just a promise, but a vow. Her power, her destiny, and even her growing feelings for Kaelin were all intertwined. She could not face one without the other. The air shifted suddenly, carrying the scent of danger. A growl echoed through the cave, low and threatening. Elara's silver eyes scanned the shadows. The figure from the clearing, the one she had sensed before, was here. It moved with a quiet menace, circling her and Kaelin. Its eyes glowed red in the dim light, filled with hunger and intelligence. "This is the first true test," Elara murmured. Her claws flexed, the silver light from her body expanding slightly, illuminating the cave walls. She could feel the power surging within her, stronger now, sharper, ready. The shadow lunged, but Elara was ready. She met it with a wave of energy, the moonlight bending to her will. The force sent the creature back, but it did not flee. It circled again, testing her, probing her defenses. Kaelin moved beside her, ready to strike, yet careful not to overstep. "You must trust yourself," Kaelin said, his voice steady. "Do not hesitate." "The power is yours," Elara inhaled, focusing her energy. The silver light from her body flared, and a pulse of pure energy shot outward, pushing the creature back. It howled in frustration, then retreated, leaving only a lingering shadow in its wake. The cave fell silent again. Elara lowered her hands, breathing heavily. She felt the eyes of the spirits on her, their approval silent but palpable. Kaelin placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have passed the first trial," he said. "But the shadow is only the beginning. There are more challenges ahead, and they will be harder than this." Elara nodded. She felt a mixture of triumph and apprehension. Her powers had grown, yes, but so had the dangers. She realized that being Alpha was not just about strength. It was about wisdom, courage, and the ability to face the unknown without faltering. They left the cave as dawn touched the horizon, painting the mountains in hues of gold and rose. The forest seemed calmer, but Elara knew it was only temporary. The shadows she had faced would return, stronger, hungrier, and more cunning. Kaelin walked beside her, his presence a constant reminder of both challenge and support. "We need to prepare," he said quietly. "The pack must be ready, and so must we." The enemy you felt in the clearing, it will not wait. It will come for us, for you, for the power you carry. Ilara's silver eyes met his. Then we train, she said. We strengthen the pack, we sharpen our skills, and we face whatever comes. I will not allow fear or doubt to rule us. Not now, not ever. Kalen inclined his head, a small smile flickering at the corner of his lips. Then let us begin, he said. The words carried both challenge and promise, and Ilara felt a strange warmth in her chest, a mixture of anticipation and something deeper, something she could not yet name. The journey back to the heart of the pack was long and filled with tension. Wolves watched her with curiosity, some with skepticism. Elders whispered among themselves, testing her patience, testing her wisdom. Ilara moved among them, not with arrogance, but with confidence, her silver eyes holding the quiet strength of the Alpha reborn. Night fell again, and the forest became alive with the sounds of nocturnal life. Ilara stood at the edge of the clearing, her gaze sweeping across the trees. She could feel the power of the moon, the whispers of the spirits, the pulse of the earth, and she could feel the shadow lurking, waiting for the moment to strike. But she was ready, and with Kalen by her side, she would face it all. Cliffhanger. A sudden howl split the night, deeper and darker than any she had heard before. Ilara's silver eyes widened as a figure emerged from the darkness, larger and more fearsome than any enemy yet. Its eyes burned like coals, and it stepped forward with deliberate menace. She tightened her fists, silver light shimmering along her body. She realized then that the true test of her power, and the bond with Kalen, had only just begun. The Moonfang clearing was quiet, but the air was thick with tension. Ilara stood at the center, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. The pack surrounded her, some close, others lingering at the edges, hesitant. She could feel their fear, their doubts, their curiosity. Every step she took, every breath she drew, radiated power. The Alpha reborn, no longer rejected. Kalen stood beside her, his golden eyes sharp, scanning the shadows that shifted among the trees. His usual confidence was tempered with caution, a reflection of the growing unease within the pack. Ilara could sense it too. Something was stirring, something older than any of them, something that threatened the fragile peace she had begun to build. Ilara, Kalen said, his voice low and steady. There are whispers among the pack. Some doubt your rise, some fear the change you bring. You must be careful. Not all enemies wear fangs. Ilara's gaze swept across the pack. She had expected resistance, but betrayal from within was a different weight entirely. For months she had trained, studied, and grown in power. But leadership was more than strength, it was trust, and trust was fragile. I know, she said softly, and I will earn their trust one step at a time. Fear and doubt will not rule this pack. Only loyalty, courage, and unity will. As if in answer, a soft rustling came from the edge of the clearing. Ilara's silver eyes narrowed. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. A wolf she had trained. One she had considered an ally, but now its stance was tense, eyes flicking between her and Kalen. Luna, the wolf said, voice trembling slightly. Some of us, we cannot accept this. You have changed, yes, but what if the darkness comes? What if we are destroyed under your command? Ilara's heart sank slightly, but she did not falter. She had faced rejection before, and she would not let it shake her now. You fear what you do not understand, she said calmly. I will not ask you to follow me blindly, but I will ask you to trust me. I do not lead with cruelty. I lead with protection, with courage, and with wisdom. Stand with me, and we will face the darkness together. Doubt me, and you will see the cost of hesitation. The wolf hesitated, glancing back at the others. Some of the pack nodded in agreement, others remained uncertain. Kalen placed a hand on Ilara's shoulder, a subtle reminder that she was not alone. Do not falter, he whispered. They test you, yes, but you have the strength to rise above it. Ilara inhaled deeply, feeling the moonlight flow through her. Her powers had grown since the cave, stronger and more refined. She could sense the energy of the forest, the spirits guiding her steps, the heartbeat of every wolf in the pack. She raised her hand, and a silver glow spread outward, bathing the clearing in a calm, radiant light. The hesitant wolves stiffened, awe overtaking fear. See, she said softly. The moon's light guides us. The spirits protect us. You need only follow and trust. I am not the rejected Luna. I am the Alpha, and I will keep this pack safe. For a moment, the clearing was still, the tension lifting like morning mist. But then a sudden movement drew their attention. A figure emerged from the shadows, silent and deliberate. It was a wolf, larger and more dangerous than any Alara had faced, with fur darker than midnight and eyes glowing like embers. Kalen's expression hardened. "The shadow," he said. "It has come for us sooner than expected." Alara stepped forward, silver light shimmering along her body. "Then we face it," she said, her voice steady, carrying across the clearing. Together, the shadow wolf circled them, testing, observing. Then it lunged, moving with impossible speed. Alara met it with a wave of her power, silver light exploding outward and forcing the creature back. It landed on its feet gracefully, its eyes locked on hers, intelligence gleaming within the red glow. This was no ordinary wolf. It was a challenge, a test of skill, courage, and leadership. Kalen moved beside her, ready to strike. But he did not. He had learned that this was not about him. This was Alara's fight, her trial, and he would be her partner, not her shield. Alara focused, drawing on every ounce of energy within her. The silver light from her claws pulsed, bright and strong. The shadow lunged again, faster this time, but she met it with precision. Each movement, each strike of light was deliberate. She was no longer the frightened Luna of the past. She was confident, skilled, and powerful. The shadow yelped, retreating slightly, but did not flee. It circled once more, then darted toward Kalen, fangs bared. Alara acted without hesitation, sending a surge of silver energy that deflected the attack. The shadow staggered, eyes narrowing, and then it backed away, finally retreating into the forest's edge. The pack exhaled collectively. Some wolves bowed their heads in respect, others stared in awe. Kalen looked at Alara, a mixture of pride and admiration in his gaze. "You have proven yourself tonight," he said softly. "But the trials are only beginning. There is more to face, more to learn, and more to protect." Alara nodded, feeling the weight of leadership settle comfortably on her shoulders. She had faced betrayal, tested her power, and commanded respect. But she knew the danger was far from over. The shadow wolf had been only a scout, a warning of what was to come. "Prepare the pack," she said, her voice calm but authoritative. "We train, we strengthen, and we unite. We will not be caught unready. The darkness approaches, and we will face it as one." Kalen inclined his head, moving to gather the wolves for training. Alara observed, her silver eyes scanning every movement, every wolf. She noted their strengths, their weaknesses, their loyalty. Leadership was not just about power. It was about understanding those you lead and guiding them toward a common purpose. As the night deepened, Alara trained with the pack, guiding them through exercises, testing their instincts, and strengthening their unity. Kalen sparred with her as well, testing her reflexes and pushing her limits, though neither of them would admit how much they relied on one another. Between exercises, they would pause, breathing heavily under the moonlight, their eyes meeting across the clearing. There was tension in those moments, unspoken yet undeniable. Respect, admiration, and something more lingered in every glance. Alara had once feared Kalen's judgment, his mockery, his arrogance. Now she realized that the bond between them was as crucial as any skill or power. Hours passed, and the first hint of dawn painted the forest in soft pink and gold. The pack rested, breathing in the calm, the quiet before the coming storm. Alara stood at the edge of the clearing, looking out toward the distant mountains. Her mind was alert, her senses heightened. She knew the shadow wolf's return was only a matter of time, and that darker threats lay ahead. Kalen approached, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "You have grown stronger," he said quietly. "Not just in power, but in wisdom. The pack sees it, the spirits see it, and so do I." Ilara's silver eyes softened, and for a moment the weight of leadership felt lighter. "Thank you," she said, "for standing with me, for guiding me, for trusting me even when I doubted myself." Kalen's gaze lingered on hers. "I never doubted you," he said quietly. "I only needed to see the Luna rise for herself. And now I do. You are more than I imagined, Alara. Stronger than fear, wiser than the elders, and brighter than the moon itself." Alara's heart quickened, but she kept her composure. "Then we prepare," she said firmly. "We train, we unite, and we face the challenges ahead. Nothing will break this pack, nothing will break us." The wind shifted suddenly, carrying a scent both ancient and dangerous. Ilara's silver eyes narrowed, and her claws flexed instinctively. The shadow had returned, stronger this time, and it was not alone. A low growl echoed through the forest, answering the call of the first, and she realized with a sharp intake of breath that the true trial had begun. The pack stiffened, circling her, ready to defend and follow. Kaylin moved to her side, eyes locked on the darkness that moved like liquid between the trees. Elara inhaled deeply, feeling the moonlight surge within her. This was the moment she had been preparing for, the moment where the rejected Luna would rise fully as the alpha cliffhanger. As the shadows coalesced into forms more fearsome than any she had faced, Elara's silver eyes blazed brighter than the moon itself. She knew that the coming battle would test every skill, every ounce of courage, and every bond she had built. And at the center of it all, Kaylin stood beside her, their fates intertwined as the night prepared to erupt into chaos. The forest was alive with tension, every leaf and branch trembling under the weight of the approaching danger. Elara stood at the center of the clearing, silver eyes blazing, her claws gleaming faintly with moonlight. The pack circled around her, taut and ready, their loyalty evident in their posture and focus. Kaylin was at her side, his golden eyes sharp, his presence steadying and protective yet challenging. The shadows moved as one, a tide of darkness flowing through the trees, forming shapes taller and more menacing than any she had seen. The air was heavy, almost suffocating as a low growl rolled through the forest. This was no ordinary enemy. It was a force older than the mountains, hungrier than any wolf, and cunning enough to exploit every weakness. Elara inhaled deeply, feeling the moonlight course through her veins, strengthening her, centering her. She had trained, learned the secrets of her bloodline, faced betrayal, and embraced her power. Now it was time to prove herself fully. "Stay close," she whispered to Kaylin. "The pack must follow my lead, but we move together. If we fall apart, we will lose more than just the fight." Kaylin inclined his head. "I trust you, Elara. Let's end this." The first of the shadow wolves leapt forward, its red eyes burning with hunger. Elara met it head-on, silver energy flaring outward like a shield. The creature yelped in surprise, staggered, and then lunged again, more cautious now. She moved with precision, striking with controlled bursts of moonlight, her power guiding every motion. The pack attacked in unison, their trust in her unwavering. Even Kaylin moved beside her, complementing her attacks, his strikes precise, his presence a balance to her energy. Together they became a force of light and shadow, a rhythm honed through trials and trust. But the darkness was relentless. From the trees, more forms emerged, wolves larger and darker, their eyes burning with the same red fire. They were fast, intelligent, coordinated, testing every ounce of her leadership and skill. Elara could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her chest. Every wolf in her pack depended on her decisions, on her strength, on her ability to lead them through the storm. "Focus," she called, her voice carrying authority and calm at the same time. "Do not scatter. Trust me, trust the moon, trust your instincts." The pack responded, circling together, striking in perfect synchrony. Elara felt the pulse of the forest in her veins, the whispers of the spirits guiding her movements, lending her strength. The shadow wolves faltered under the onslaught of combined light and precision, and yet one figure moved differently. Larger, slower, deliberate, its eyes glowing with a fierce intelligence. Elara recognized it immediately. The shadow from the cave, the creature tied to Kaylin's bloodline, the one the spirits had warned her about. It was not just testing her strength, it was testing her bond with Kaylin, her leadership, and her heart. The wolf lunged at Kaylin first. He reacted instantly, deflecting it, but the creature was fast, twisting and turning, driving them both back. Elara moved between them, silver light flaring, pushing the shadow away. It hissed, eyes narrowing, and then stared directly at her, as if acknowledging her as the true alpha. "This ends now," Elara said, her voice firm and unwavering. "You will not harm my pack. You will not threaten this forest. I am the Luna reborn, the alpha, and I command you." The creature circled, growling low, then charged. Elara met it with a surge of energy, channeling all the moonlight within her into a concentrated wave. The force hit the shadow with such strength that it was thrown back, tumbling across the forest floor. The pack surged forward, taking advantage of its hesitation, striking as one, coordinated and precise. Kaylin moved to her side, breathing heavily, his eyes meeting hers. There was a silent acknowledgement, a bond strengthened through trials and danger. Elara smiled faintly, the silver glow surrounding her intensifying. The shadow rose again, more furious than before, but this time it hesitated. It could sense the unity, the trust, the bond between Elara and her pack, the unspoken connection with Kaylin. Its movements became less aggressive, more cautious, calculating. Alara took a step forward, claws raised, silver energy pulsing outward. "You cannot break us," she said, her voice ringing clear and commanding. "We are one. We are the pack, and we are guided by the moon. You will not prevail." The shadow growled, eyes blazing, but it stopped its assault. Slowly, deliberately, it lowered its head, circling once more, then retreated into the darkness of the forest. The remaining shadows followed, dissolving into the night as if recognizing the victory of the Alpha. The clearing fell silent, broken only by the heavy breathing of the pack. Wolves approached her, bowing their heads in respect, acknowledging her strength and leadership. Kalen stepped forward, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You've done it," he said quietly. "You faced the darkness and led the pack with courage and wisdom. You are the Alpha, Alara, in every sense of the word." Alara exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. The trials had tested her strength, her mind, and her heart. She had faced shadows, betrayal, and the unknown, and had emerged victorious. But she also knew this was only the beginning. The forest, the spirits, and the future held even greater challenges, but she was ready. Kalen looked at her then, golden eyes softening. "And now," he asked, "what comes next for the Luna reborn?" Alara smiled faintly, silver light shimmering along her skin. "Now we heal," she said. "We strengthen the pack, build trust, and prepare for the future. I am no longer the rejected Luna. I am the Alpha, and together we will face whatever comes." Kalen nodded, and for the first time, he allowed a small smile to break through his usual stern expression. There was understanding, respect, and perhaps something more. A bond forged in battle, in trials. And in the quiet moments between, the pack circled around them, wolves settling down, some resting, some standing watch. The night was calm, and the moon bathed the clearing in silver light. The forest seemed to breathe with them, alive with energy, peace, and the quiet power of the Alpha reborn. Alara looked to the horizon, where the first light of dawn touched the mountains. She knew the path ahead would not be easy, that dangers would come again, and that challenges would test her heart and strength. But for now she allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. She had risen from rejection, embraced her power, and led her pack through the darkness. Kalen stood beside her, silent and steady, a reminder that she was not alone. Their bond was unspoken yet strong, forged in trials, trust, and shared strength. "Alara," he said softly, "whatever comes, we face it together. The pack, the forest, the future, all of it." Alara nodded, silver eyes glowing with determination. "Together," she said, and in that word was strength, courage, and promise. The rejected Luna was gone. The Alpha had awakened, and nothing, not shadows, not betrayal, not fear, would stand in her way. As the sun rose over the mountains, painting the forest in golden light, Alara lifted her head to the sky, silver eyes reflecting the dawn. She could feel the spirits of the ancestors around her, proud, watching, guiding. The forest was alive, the pack united, and the Alpha reborn stood at the center, stronger than ever. The journey was far from over. Trials would come again, and shadows would test her limits, but she had discovered the greatest truth of all, that strength was not only in power but in heart, in trust, and in unity. And with Kalen and her pack by her side, she would face the future without fear. The forest whispered around her, leaves shimmering, the wind carrying promise. Ilara's claws flexed, silver light shimmering faintly as she took her first step forward as the Alpha. The moon above seemed to shine brighter, a blessing and a guide, and so the rejected Luna became the Alpha reborn, her power, courage, and heart intertwined with the pack she now led. The shadows would come, storms would rise, but she would stand tall, unyielding, and eternal, no longer rejected, no longer afraid, and always the Luna of the Moonfang Forest.